He called you Willy
No, you
Wonka.
That's not what I said, but okay.
That's what it sounded like. I wasn't listening.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
All right.
It's just the what you actually said doesn't make any sense without the rest of the context.
Okay. So how you guys been?
Confused?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cold. It's so cold.
Wow, what frigid temperature is it in Florida?
And use real degrees.
I wanted to get like some kind of fucking translator. 76 Fahrenheit.
That's warm.
It's so cold. 2 Celsius. Hold on, let me translate this for Johnny. 24?
You're joking.
No?
That's cold.
For me, it's usually like 105, which is, I'm not going to translate that. It's a lot more.
Yo,
Is the dead air just you guys being angry at me?
No, I'm just perplexed because regardless of what you're used to, there's no way that should feel cold to you. Like your body cannot change that much to the point that you're like shivering. Are you shivering?
Not right this moment.
Okay, well then stop wearing shorts.
Oh no, I have jeans on now.
Okay, well, all right then. There's no excuse. So
see,
I feel like I'm in trouble.
Austin, I don't normally get cold until a little less than half of that. I suppose it would be a little when I mean a little less than half of that, I mean between that temperature and freezing water temperature, pick the halfway point. And then just nudge it like 20% towards freezing water temperature.
It's like this conversation is happening in two languages.
That's when I start to go, maybe I need a jacket.
See, I'm glad that none of this is going to make it in, because nobody could give a shit less about us talking about the weather. Pretty great.
I'm not sure anybody gives a shit about us talking anything else either.
Well, then we are the victims of a long con, like gaslighting. They got us good.
They did.
You guys.
Johnny, when we joined the call, you said you were confused. What are you confused about?
Willy Wonka?
No. I said things got wonky with my recorder, and then Austin took it in a completely different direction. But you have to forgive him, for his brain is frozen.
Yeah.
It's like
that Disney movie, Tangled.
Apparently he's having trouble getting oxygen to the areas in it that it needs to get to, so...
Oh, it's going to be one of those episodes, guys.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney.
The job I work is most of our customers that we cater to are the kinds of businesses that can sort of like pick and choose when they want to be open, like when they want to be working and what they want to be working on. It's not like, because I know that when you work certain jobs during the holiday season, like that can mean an increased workload for you. It could mean a decreased workload for you. It could mean that you're doing something differently than you normally do. Like, I don't know, maybe if you're like a janitorial team or something like that. I know some like guys who used to professionally clean businesses that during the Christmas season would also get hired on to paint holiday greetings in shop windows and like bank windows and stuff like that. So they'd go in and hoover up the place and then break out the paints and be like, "Happy Holidays" on the windows, right? I fall right into the middle camp, like massively decreased workload. Like I am showing up at my job right now, undergoing the laborious task of putting both of my feet on the edge of my desk and turning up the music that I have hooked up to the speakers in my computer. And I think the technical term is not giving a fuck. So I'm a little restless right now, honestly, to tell you the truth. Which is weird to be around the holiday season because everybody else is like, up and going and moving, and like when I'm off a work day, I feel like I need to set something on fire. Not like burn it down, but just like set it on fire a little bit, Get a little bit of urgency going. Like I need to go to Chili's, except not Chili's as we know it, but like if it were actually spicy.
That was where do I start? That was the most rambling, incoherent commercial for Chili's I've ever heard.
Johnny,
but it's not a commercial for Chili's because it's not as spicy a Chili's as I require for my current needs. It needs to be a spicier Chili's.
Johnny, I want you to know that while you were talking, I ate 9 onion rings, and so if you want to ramble on, that's fine because I have like a big thing of onion.
This is just the rambling damage right now that going to work is doing me. It's a desperate desert at my work right now of regular people who, under normal circumstances, would refuse to talk to each other to let them know that there was a large spider on their forehead about to kill them. Just like staring at each other seemingly over these long distances of desert, as if to say, "Why are we here?" It's essentially
seasonal depression.
It's a really bad expressionistic existentialist German art film set in a laser factory, apparently.
I just ate 2 more onion rings and I am full. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny,
can you email me the rest of those onion rings?
I'm sorry, but they are all in my belly now.
Oh no.
Johnny, when you're at the laser factory and you're at the conveyor belt where they make lasers, do you ever, do quality inspection and say, not red enough?
We do not have a conveyor belt.
Can you just play along and say that you do?
God damn it, Johnny. Improv. Yes, and...
We do have a loudspeaker system that plays Raymond Scott's Powerhouse on repeat, however, which I always thought was a liberty that the Looney Tunes cartoons took with Industrial Machination, but it turns out that it's actually standard.
Wait, which one is that?
The whistle goes off at 8 o'clock when the work shift starts, and then it's... dun 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 dun. Yeah, just like all day long on repeat.
That was some vivid mouth jazz.
We get a break of lunchtime for an hour where they just play Flight of the Bumblebees.
How does that one go? I mean, I know. I just want to hear you do it.
So we've talked about nothing.
How is everyone sounding? I heard Johnny Domo Origato'd for a second there.
Oh, I did not notice that at all.
Okay, that's fine. It's on you're the one recording, so.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you two? Here I am dominating the airwaves again.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm good.
Like I do. I know Austin's cold.
I mean, I feel
as if he has, 2 natural states, and that is fine and cold.
Mm-hmm. And hungry. No, wait, hold on. Is that a state, or is that something else?
Yeah, hungry is a status, yeah.
We should.
Are you hungry right now, Austin?
No. I don't do that. Guys.
Yes.
None of this is usable.
No, I'm giving all of it in.
No, you fool!
I'm just going to call this the onion ring portion of the show. All right.
Tell me you skipped the first 10 minutes of this.
So, guys.
Should we get the we're not talking about Star Wars thing out at the top?
Oh yeah. I saw Star Wars, and I'm not sure if Austin saw Star Wars, but Johnny did not see Star Wars yet. So we're not going to talk about...
Did you see Star Wars, Austin?
I think I saw it first of any of us. I saw it, the night before it came out in most theaters.
Okay, I saw it the morning at 9 a.m.
So the fact that we're not talking about Star Wars is entirely my fault. So if you were like, oh boy, I can't wait to hear what those wacky guys have to say about Star Wars, we can lay the blame squarely at my feet.
Yeah.
I'd feel worse about it if everyone else wasn't already talking about it. Like, there's plenty of alternatives, so we're not, like, letting anyone down.
There's no shortage.
Also, yeah, if we have extra time at the end, we can always just kick Johnny from the call and do it without him.
Okay. So...
last resort.
Yeah. All right. Austin.
That's me.
You said you were, like, watching something right before we started recording. I don't know what that is. So, like usual, talk about things. Before you do, I want to say something. Someone in the comments on YouTube was very upset that we did not provide a link to the softcore porn that we watched last week. Here's the thing. It's softcore porn, and I'm not linking to it on my otherwise pristine comment section.
You could always just go to the tweet that I asked for questions and then look at the replies. It would be one of those.
I just felt like it would be irresponsible of me to just start linking porn through YouTube. So I didn't do that. I tried to explain to him what's going on. So I'll explain to our audience now. We don't plan any of this. And
we have to emphasize that like every other week.
Right, and Austin didn't like come up with this, and like it was like a big thing that we were all going to do, and we were all in on it. Austin didn't even know like what was up until someone tweeted at him and says, "Hey, watch this," and then talk about it on the show. The whole point of the show is that it's improvised. We have like some idea of maybe what we want to talk about.
I don't know if that's the whole point of the show, because that would belie the fact that there is a point.
Okay, but what I'm trying to
the
say...
format of the show is that it's entirely improvised.
Okay.
Like let me just read the Skype chat for like, here's the relevant section. I am home. Other topics besides the X-Files? ? And then I answered and said, I watched some stuff too. We can wing it, do questions, and see what happens.
And that is completely excluding my contributions to the conversation, which go... face hole, na face hole.
Yeah. That was related to scheduling and not the content of the show, so I left the face hole bit out.
Yeah.
You let your mind fill in those gaps, people. It's more exciting than the real answer.
Yeah. So Austin, you did watch some stuff.
I did.
So let's wing it and see what happens.
Oh, let's see what you did there.
Let's have this beautiful blossom of conversation unfold before our eyes and see the miracle of creation laid bare.
So last week there was like a 12... you okay there?
Yes, I am.
Last week there was like a 12-minute section where Johnny talked to himself and we didn't do anything because we hadn't seen the show he was talking about. It's a sci-fi...
It's called The Expanse, and it's really good, and you should watch it.
I did. I watched the first 4 episodes.
Good for you. I'm proud of you, buddy.
It's okay. I liked it well enough. If I didn't know it was adapted from a series of novels, I would have said it was kind of like a cynical attempt to have like space Game of Thrones. Because obviously it's not the exact copy, but there are a lot of elements that seem like someone was familiar with Game of Thrones, like even the opening with the violin music and like all the landscape shots and stuff, but like a bunch of main characters are dead or in danger of dying at all times. There's like a bunch of unnecessary sex scenes. There's like complicated political machinations. Like it's definitely what it reminded me of, but it's also got a lot of like other things in it. There's some Gundam going on in there with the colonies versus Earth and stuff. It's pretty people in danger and politics. So, I mean, that's pretty hot.
It's also really awesome science fiction.
It's pretty hard sci-fi, but it's not like I haven't seen like they pay a lot of attention to like gravity when they're doing maneuvers in space and stuff. But I've seen that in like Knights of Sidonia. There's also like some softer sci-fi elements like body armor that patches itself over wounds despite there not being any more material. Like how did they violate the law of conservation of matter to have that new material pop out of nowhere?
Maybe it's explained in a next episode.
Maybe they go into the suit designs more.
Yeah, that would be great.
I mean, it's harder sci-fi than most, but I don't want to say it's like super realistic.
Well, no, I mean it's set quite deep in the future, so obviously there's going to be a couple of liberties in terms of what's technologically capable and available then. But as you know, you nailed it when you basically say that it's harder sci-fi than most. We don't really get shows like this.
That's true.
You know, like it doesn't happen too often that you get a show, because I know that Naren Shankar, who I think is the executive producer on the show, actually has a doctorate. He's got a PhD in physics. So apparently when they're doing scenes and things like that, he will like break out the whiteboard and like be like, okay, so, you know, here's what you're going to do. You know, so there are scenes like when gravity goes down where characters actually like use each other for leverage. There's a scene, I think, in the 4th episode where a ship loses thrust, and the gravity that it generates from thrust stops. And so one of the characters hooks a tether to the other character and just fucking like dual kicks her into the sky. And it's like, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Really? I thought it was pretty obvious.
Well, no, but she goes flying off in one direction, and then he comes, like, you know, drifting back down. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the fact that they're considering shit like this is not something that we get in television very much. They just they take a lot of this stuff for granted.
I think my favorite detail is that people in the millionth century on the belts of the asteroids around far-flung planets still listen to the Black Keys. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's nice to know that good music from the 21st century becomes classic rock.
Oh, my favorite, like Beethoven, like some old ass busted music.
My favorite detail is Tom Jane's haircut.
He is so like stock stereotypical that it like wraps around to like not cliched almost. Like everyone like makes fun of his hat and stuff.
I love him. Tom Jane is great. He's the bee's knees.
It's just on paper it's a totally laughable character, but he kind of makes it work.
Dude, it's like Philip Marlowe in space.
It is.
It's cool.
But that's not all I watched. I want to bore Leon. Poor Leon.
Well, maybe he should have watched The Expanse this week.
I have been extremely busy. Like all day yesterday, I have had to watch 8 Friday the 13th movies.
Had to is a strong phrase, my friend.
I was required.
You do this to yourself. You do this to yourself, LT.
In order to do the episode, I had to refamiliarize myself with the film series since I haven't watched it in years. So I decided to just make an event of it and watch them all at once. Not all at once, like I had 8 TVs. I mean, all in a...
You rolled that boulder up the hill yourself, and then look at me, I'm Sisyphus. Oh, it's so hard.
Look, part of my job is sometimes doing stuff.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Okay, all right.
I used to have a job like that.
There's money involved.
You guys were back in the VT days, or every time I came back, and I was like, okay, I played 8 games this week. They're all 30 hours long. Shut up, here I go. Like, it's a lot harder than it sounds to be a person who talks about stuff on the internet.
Okay. It really is.
All right.
I'm sorry. So are we going to Leon's thing, or are we going to more of Austin's thing?
Tell me more about the things, what you've seen.
Well, I mean, we can dodge back and forth. I'm sure people are tired of my voice. Want to hit Friday the 13th for a little bit? Like, don't spoil your episode.
I won't spoil my episode, but I have a few thoughts. First of all, most of them aren't good.
No.
But the one
Leon, I'm shocked.
But hold on. But the ones that are good are good. Like, and the thing is, the one that people hate, which is 5, The New Beginning. A lot of people just...
Is that the one where he comes back as a zombie because he gets...
No, it is literally the only one where he doesn't come back as a zombie.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that's all about, what is his name, Tommy Jarvis, right?
He doesn't, it's not, alright, like, spoiler for a movie from the 80s, but it's not really Jason. So not Jason turns out to be someone else. But the point is, a lot of people really hate that. But the movie is just full of, like, goofy characters. Like, this is the point where the Friday the 13th series sort of said, you know what, this is stupid. Let's just lose any like pretense about this being like a serious horror series and just kind of goof around. And they did. And then part 6 was very intentionally like very much a horror comedy. So the one right after that, where he does come back as a zombie, but it is comedy. And 7, not as much. But then 8, he takes Manhattan.
Does he ever give it back?
He turns into a little boy at the end, so I guess he had to.
There's a point
that's what we're going with? He takes Manhattan in terms of, like, takes possession of it? Because I always was under the impression that it was like, you know, take me.
Well, it's a metaphor, Johnny.
No. You guys, the weird thing about Jason Takes Manhattan is that half the movie does not take place in Manhattan. It takes place on 2 boats. The first boat that it takes place on has nothing to do with the second boat. He's just on a boat, and he's like, I'm going to harpoon people. And he does.
So if you like movies about zombie serial killers just hanging out on boats, have I got a movie for you?
And then he gets on another boat, and it's called the Lazarus, because he always comes back from the dead. And then he kills a bunch of people on the boat. But they had to call it Jason Takes Manhattan because they couldn't call it Jason Takes 2 Boats.
Jason takes 2 boats on his way to see the sights of New York.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That has one of my favorite kills where he punches a guy's head off and it flies into a dumpster.
Oh my god. Like, there's this boxer character, and he's like, I bet I could take Jason. And he totally does, until he just kind of, like, lowers his guard, which is not what you do in boxing. And he gets tired, and he's like, okay, now you take your best shot. And then Jason does, and of course, because he's a super zombie, he knocks his head off, like Johnny Cage. But,
the old rope-a-dope.
Right.
Got him bad.
Like, it's like, don't do that. Like, he's right on the edge of the building. This is the part where you push him off. Like, I don't know. The point is, a lot of the movies...
The point is, Johnny Cage is not afraid to die.
A lot of the movies are not good. But here's the weird thing about them. They're the kind of not good that's just really watchable. And I know that's like a stupid thrown around term that doesn't mean anything, but I'm using it and I'm throwing around the stupid term. It's these movies you can just kind of there's nothing like boring about them is what I'm trying to say. There's bad and then there's boring bad. These movies are not boring. Stuff's always happening. And you know, there are better slasher films. There are better slasher film series in the 80s. There's at least a couple. But
oh yeah, which couple?
A Nightmare on Elm Street. And although I would not say the Halloween film series is better on the whole as the Friday the 13th series, I would say that the first 2 are better than almost all of the Friday the 13th ones.
Damn, you've got me there.
So, I mean, I guess it depends on how you think about it. But anyway, the point is, the Friday the 13th movies are not great horror movies. They're pretty good to good horror movies, you know, depending on which one you're watching. But there's something very familiar.
Iconic?
Yeah, it's iconic, but it's also just, everything's very familiar when you're watching it. And I don't just mean because it repeats itself a lot, and it does. I just mean that it feels, how do I put this? If, it's like eating an okay steak. It's not great, but it's a steak. You're good. You're satisfied when you eat it. And that's kind of what it's like. I mean, I'm going to have a lot more to say, and most of it will not be just about whether or not I liked it. It'll be about like tropes and stuff. But
So would you go as far to say as that Friday the 13th is like the Smuckers of slasher movies? Because it's like, you know that if you go to the right store, there's some like fucking artisanal jam or like fruit preserves that would blow that shit out of the water, but it's like, there's a long tradition of cutting up teenagers who like to have sex out here in Friday the 13th land. And Smuckers has been doing it for some time.
Oh, God. All right, so
slasher movies are to films as like beat 'em ups are to video games. Like, they're not like great works of art, but you can kind of just sit down and just chill with them for a while, and it's fine. Like, You're not going to regret spending that time on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out which one was the final fight.
Especially because most like horror franchises, especially slashers, become comedies over time just out of necessity. Because there's only so many ways you can mutilate a dude, like within a given power set. So you have to like go to space or some shit, or you'll literally just be making remakes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kiss the air here for a second for Jason X.
That also had one of the best kills. The liquid nitrogen kill was pretty sweet in that one.
All right.
Not a great movie.
I was always a fan of the sleeping bag scene in it, where they do the VR of the old Camp Crystal Lake, and then there's the cutaway, and then they come back, and that's just like, I'm like, yeah, there we go. That's familiar.
They made that Jason's fatality in Mortal Kombat, and people were upset that it wasn't, like, gory enough.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, well, people can fucking go to hell.
Okay. Just
like
like
Jason
did. Okay. So in all seriousness, I have so much more to say about the Friday the 13th film series. Please watch my upcoming episode on it. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll be either up or almost up. So keep an eye on my YouTube channel. This was not meant to be a trailer for my next Renegade Cut. It just sort of came up in conversation because nothing's planned. That's how this works.
While you're at his YouTube channel, consider watching other movies, too.
Yeah, there's things.
Austin.
That's me.
What other interesting and exciting and stimulating things have you been watching lately?
I think you're overselling it a bit. I watched an anime series called One Punch Man. Have you guys ever heard of this?
No.
I have heard of One Punch Man.
I have not.
It's a joke that should barely last a sketch, like an SNL bit, but it's a 12-episode series so far, and it actually super works. It's about this superhero. He's like clearly inspired by both like Japanese Sentai characters and a little bit of like Western like Superman tropes. But
question in the back here.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Does One Punch Man's one punch come from one punching fist? Or can he punch with either fist?
I think he can punch with either fist. The whole joke of the series, though, is that he wins every fight with one punch. And you think, like, oh, that's funny. He's like a Superman, overpowered, invincible, boring hero. Good joke. But it goes on from there, like his existential crisis of like trying to find somebody to be like a challenge to him, and like the ramifications on the world of like superheroes. I kind of like eventually you find out there's like this whole like Avengers League of kind of like superheroes, and the way he fits in with them. And like every week there's these new like crazy monster designs. It actually has way more in it than you would think from the premise.
But hey, Austin, growing up is really, really hard, and there's really no point in time where someone takes you aside and says, hey, congratulations, you're Two Punch Man now.
Well, Johnny, you kill me. But it's like, because, I think we've talked about Superman before on here, about how he's kind of boring because he has all the power, and, like, there's nothing that threatens him except for kryptonite, which is, like, ridiculously abundant for no reason, and basically...
And Ben Affleck.
Well, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, we're assuming a lot there.
But One Punch Man is kind of like a writing workshop prompt, right? Like if you ever take like writing classes, they were like, imagine a world where all words are made of cheese, or like they'll come up with like some crazy bullshit just to try to see what you can do with it. And that's kind of like, hey, make Superman interesting, or like do something with the fact that he's invincible. And they made a whole show out of it, and it's just really, really goofy, and I kind of dig it a lot. But everyone's been saying it's like the best anime of the year, so I've been watching it, and it's definitely
it's that recent.
Yeah, I think it's based on a manga that came out like a year or two ago. So it's
okay. I didn't know it was that recent. Unfortunately, my knowledge of anime kind of like gets to the point in time where if I've heard of it, I just assume it's like 8 years old.
Yeah. Also, the animation is super good because all the fight scenes are kind of like foregone conclusions. They just use them as excuses to just stage the most elaborate bonkers bullshit. Because there's like no actual stakes, so it's just spectacle, and I think they do really well with that. Like none of them are boring like you think they would be.
If I was interested in watching an anime like this, Austin, where might an invested consumer be able to wet his whistle?
I'm hearing a hissing sound.
Yeah, that's I hear it on Johnny's.
Yeah, there's cooking in the kitchen.
That's fine. We'll deal with it. I'm not going to tell you not to eat food, so.
It's bacon.
Okay.
So
okay, acceptable.
The loudest of foods.
Obviously, Austin, you've never had to kill
I'm like where this sentence is going.
a small goat before, in the middle of a heavy metal concert.
Why would you do that? Goats are adorable. Have you ever seen their eyes? They have freaky eyes.
Well, until the light goes out on them.
Oh my god. Just Google goat eyes. It's an experience. It's a ride.
I'm going to do it right now because, as we all know, us looking at stuff that nobody else can look at is amazing in radio.
I assume we've just given up.
The mountains in British Columbia are beautiful.
Oh, they're like rectangles.
Yeah, right? It's crazy.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I guess I never looked too deeply into a goat eye before. But yeah, they're basically they're almost rectangles.
And as I understand it, the song Hungry Eyes was actually written about a very particular goat.
Oh.
Johnny, before we were interrupted by your bacon, you were asking where you can watch One Punch Man. I watched it on Hulu, so that's where it is in my region.
I have
that might be a little nationally compromising.
I'm sorry.
There's always
That's okay.
I do have Hulu though, so I have a subscription to it, so I'll look.
Now I want to get a subscription to Hulu, because that sounds like...
It's so much better.
It does. That sounds like it would be a way better service.
Okay.
Leon, do you want to tell us about the X-Files? Because I've seen a couple episodes of that show, so maybe I can pretend like I'm knowledgeable enough to discuss it with you?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Austin would have been mewling and rolling around in his crib when the X-Files first made their appearance back in the 1990s. Austin, the grown-ups have to talk here for a second. Leon, I hate the X-Files.
Really?
I guess I don't hate the X-Files. It just, when it came out, everybody was like, oh my god, the X-Files. I was like, I better watch the X-Files. And then I sat down and watched, 2 or 3 episodes, and I was like, oh, it's a Monster of the Week show, okay.
It's not, but...
And then a guy smokes a cigarette and goes... I
was under the impression the X-Files basically invented the Monster of the Week format, or at least popularized it. How were you already tired of it?
All right.
No, I mean, there were serials that happened before that weren't necessarily, tied to it, right? So, The Outer Limits, classic Twilight Zone, There were sword and sorcery, fantasy shows before it, like Hercules and Xena and I'm trying to remember the name of another one, but I can't, so...
Do you ever notice how much we swear? We swear a lot.
I only do on this show. I don't know why.
I've been trying to cut back because I like when I'm editing Dice Funk. It's like, oh my god, I use it like a comma.
Yeah.
I gotta stop.
I feel like I do it because I have to be on right now, so I get a little wild and rambunctious, and sometimes things spill out. This is me rambunctious, by the way. But when I'm just walking around in the tangible world, I usually say, "Oh goodness," when things happen, and I say "heck."
Leon's form is Bruce Banner.
So, anyway, X-Files. There are actually 2 kinds of X-Files episodes. There are what are dubbed the Monster of the Week episodes, which I'll get into in a second, and then there are the mythology episodes, which are the overarching plot line that spans about 8 or 9 years.
But you would have to say that one of them vastly outnumbers the other, am I right?
That's true, because it was the 90s, and they didn't have, 10-episode HBO things where, a team of, whatever kind of writers are all pulling together to make one cohesive story. There were a team of writers in the 90s saying, I have an idea, werewolves. And I was like, yeah, you do that while we do the Boogeyman.
I have an idea. Giovanni Ribisi gets struck by lightning.
So here, let me explain the X-Files and why.
Before you do explain the X-Files here, I just want to tell you that, that since gaining access to Netflix, I have looked at that splash screen for the X-Files, and the fact that the X-Files is coming back, and I have thought to myself, maybe the X-Files deserves another chance. Yes, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to sell me on it. All right?
All right. So here are all the reasons X-Files is great. First of all, you know how particular I am about how a show looks. And we've also talked on this show before about how so much before the 21st century television is just garbage and looks like garbage. X-Files.
I'm just gonna quickly interrupt here and tell the audience that this is coming from Leon, who once judged me on the fact that I was watching Star Trek: The Next Generation on regular DVD instead of Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's bullshit. So here's two things about that. First of all, X-Files is now on Blu-ray, and that's the way you should be watching it. The second thing is that it doesn't look all TV, or at least all 90s TV. It looks like more or less modern TV right now, but still modern, good network TV. Not quite HBO level, but it looks cinematic is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't look like shit. It actually just looks like a pretty good show. It is visually, I wouldn't say arresting, but it is visually satisfying as opposed to a lot of other 90s shows that just look like a bunch of trash. So that is one thing that that might interest you about the show and having to deal with an old show. The other thing that is interesting about the show is that it's great and it's fun. And look, there are Monster of the Week episodes that don't have any, that are like, they're only about that one thing, and it will never be referenced in another episode. But Johnny, you like Star Trek, and that is basically the same thing. And when people say Monster of the Week, I don't mean that Mulder is just scratching his chin at the beginning of every episode and says, "I bet vampires are real," and then like bursts out the door and tries to prove that vampires are real. Although there is a vampire episode. No, there's they come across mysteries and they don't know what it is, and sometimes they solve it and sometimes they don't. And sometimes it is a monster, and sometimes it is something scientifically almost accurate, and sometimes it's just a thing. And Scully's like, "Mulder, this is one of the 1 out of 10 times where I'm right." So the Monster of the Week episodes shouldn't like scare you away. There's a lot of good Monster of the Week episodes. The other thing that's great about it is the mythology episodes, and that's Mulder's never-ending quest to prove that extraterrestrials are visiting Earth on a pretty regular basis, occasionally abducting us for various things, and are in contact with the government for reasons. The reason I'm rewatching this show, besides the fact that I enjoy it, is because the new X-Files is coming back, or there is a new season coming, and I don't remember all the things that happened, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the show. Chris Carter, had a fairly complex show for its time. There are all kinds of things, all kinds of mysteries that don't get solved until much later on. Some major characters do die, so it's not, I'm not going to say who, but characters die, and you can't just say, "Oh, I like that one," and then think that they're just going to make it because it's a 90s show.
I accidentally walked onto the set a couple of months ago,
Oh, of the new X-Files.
They shot the entire thing in Vancouver.
Yeah, they shot the original series in Canada as well. What happened?
Yeah, they came back. That is what I'm saying. And yeah, I rounded the corner one evening and found myself on the X-Files set. It was disorienting.
All right. Did you see Mulder? Did you see Scully?
I did not.
Oh.
But I saw a guy that I recognized from the show, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what his character name was.
Okay. Was it Mitch Pileggi as Skinner? I didn't realize you will not be able to answer that.
I mean, I could look up Mitch Pileggi right here.
Good.
Let me just see. Mitch Pileggi. Oh, look at that. I have to write P. Yeah, it was Mitch Pileggi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's on the show. I guess that's a spoiler that he's alive. But yeah, he's one of the management types at the FBI. He doesn't really get in danger much, so I guess that's not really a spoiler. But anyway, it's just an entertaining show to watch. But really, you can watch it for, oh, cool, aliens, maybe that's a thing, or you could watch it because the chemistry between Mulder and Scully is just great. It's a lot of believer versus skeptic stuff, but it's also just really playful.
Do you ship it?
Yeah. I forget exactly how anything happens in the later seasons, but yeah, I kind of ship it right away. I'm sort of like watching it again, like I'm watching it again for the first time because.
So how far are you in again for the first time?
I'm like 13 or 14 episodes in, and there are over 200. So this is going to take a while. But the point I'm trying to make is, I watched this show, like, let me see. I mean, it either debuted in 92 or 93. So that's more than 20 years ago. So it was a while back. So I don't remember all the things that happened. The episodes are
20 years ago. My God, what have I been doing?
It's just been sitting there waiting for you to watch it. But anyway, no. In all seriousness, it's a really solid show that, as I'm watching it now, seems to hold up reasonably well for a show that began in the early '90s. And I do want to say one thing, and I this won't even be a spoiler because this is just kind of stuff that happens right away in the first season. The conflict between Mulder and Scully throughout the seasons is that one is a skeptic and one is a believer in really everything. Like he will just he just assumes everything is real. And Scully assumes like nothing is real. He had presented with irrefutable evidence for it though. Like in the first few episodes of the series, right after Scully introduces herself and we realize she's the skeptic, she's attacked by like a centuries-old mutant that wants her liver. She proves that artificial intelligent robots that want to kill us exist. She witnesses some like alien thing that goes under the skin. That's basically a rip-off of the thing, and a couple other things. So like 12 or 13 episodes in, she sees ghosts, and it's ghosts. So there's no way around it. But even at the end, she's like, I don't know. I mean, I have seen like all these things, but I still don't believe in stuff. And
that's the whole problem with the whole era, or I guess the whole history of television, is of being afraid to upset the status quo because people didn't watch shows like in order for a whole story.
Yeah.
So you can't alienate anyone. So everything has to go back to the way it was.
Yeah, the inflexibility of the structure was king, absolutely. It was monarch in the 1990s.
Yeah. But with all that being said, as I'm watching it now, still very solid show, and like I said, it is now available in a much better quality format than previously was, and I would recommend checking it out.
Well, Leon?
Yeah.
You've convinced me to give it a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a couple episodes of it. Seeing 200 episodes ahead of me is terrifying when I have so many other things. Yeah. I also played video games.
Like Star Trek?
I do have Star Trek. I'm not watching Star Trek until Leon starts JoJo.
I'm so busy with the X-Files right now.
I know. I got you.
Yep, you did.
But like I played video games this week. I started another podcast. I actually watched a whole Netflix series. Like there's still so many fucking things I did.
You started another podcast?
Not one I'm on. God, Johnny, the panic in your voice when you thought that I was cheating on you with another podcast.
No, for a second there, I was like, "Holy fuck! I need to read my emails."
No, I started listening to Serial, the famous true crime podcast thingy, because
I hear good things about that.
Yeah.
I'm also hearing really good things about Netflix, The Making of a Monster.
Making of a Murderer, which is the other thing I watched.
Murderer, yeah.
Which is the other thing I watched this week and which inspired me to listen to Serial, because, I mean, I saw on Netflix they had a new series, and because Netflix series are always good, or all of them I've watched are good, I watched that, and it was a 10-part, 10-hour crime documentary thing about this family who's probably been wrongly convicted of crimes.
Don't tell me how it ends, because I watched one episode and I'm about to watch another episode right after this is over with someone. So
yeah, I won't tell you. It's really good. It's clearly pretty biased though, but I won't get into that. But I watched it, and everyone I talked to about it was like, yeah, it's basically Serial, and I was like, well, I guess I got to listen to that now. So I've started listening to that, and it is exactly like Serial. It's just a less biased. Like, Serial is less biased. It just seems like a woman investigating a thing, where the Making a Murderer series definitely seems like it's coming in with a conclusion and then showing you how they got there, which is fine. It's not like it makes it less interesting or fun to watch. But
well, Serial could do that because as she was recording it, like, stuff was happening. Like, she didn't record like 12 episodes and then they played it over the course. She recorded as it was going because stuff kept changing and people kept commenting.
Well, I mean, Making a Murderer was filmed over 10 years.
Okay. Well,
so
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of twists.
But I mean, even still, by the time that you're putting it together, because obviously it wouldn't have been put together, I don't know, 3 years ago, and Netflix just be like, oh yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah.
When you're putting it together, the benefit of hindsight and whatnot.
Yeah,
but as I understand it, Serial was kind of released on a more piecemeal basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like twice a month or something. Maybe that's Night Vale. I don't know.
No, Night Vale is twice a month. Serial was weekly, and then there was a long break, and now the second season has started.
Yeah. Gosh, there's just so much stuff. I also played the new King's Quest. Have you guys?
Tell me of this King's Quest.
Johnny probably knows more than both of us combined.
I've never played a King's Quest game. I have no real interest in doing so.
Yeah.
I'll give a quick historical primer. Okay.
Oh,
so basically, computer gaming back in like the early 1980s, the mid 80s, adventure gaming was practically king. Because text was one of the only real ways that you could, control a character on screen. And there were two titans of industry, really, at the time, by the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, and they were Sierra and LucasArts. LucasArts has gone down historically as being the one people are more fond of, with its sort of future-looking mouse-based pointer system, with its verb choices and visuals, whereas Sierra largely has gone down in history for obtuse puzzles, drastically unfair deaths, no-win situations,
and being really funny.
And occasionally being really funny. No, I mean, Sierra had Space Quest, and they had Leisure Suit Larry, which I feel is unfairly maligned as a dirty sex game as opposed to a comedy game that happens to be about sex, and Freddy Farkas, which I think is one of its unsung heroes. But, LucasArts also had Monkey Island, which is a pretty colossal presence. But this would be, the King's Quest you're talking about is the one that the Odd Gentlemen have made under Activision's Reborn Sierra, sort of indie, he uses with finger quotes, development studio. Is that right?
Indie is just meaningless at this point, but yes, it's the kind of the King's Quest reboot, essentially. It's an episodic Telltale style release. Do you guys care how it is?
I do.
I'll listen.
Listen, dead serious. Sorry, the original King's Quest was my first computer game. It was the first step that I took to becoming the PC gamer that I am today. My dad worked at IBM, and when they released a home terminal called the PC Junior, he brought one home with copies of the original King's Quest and a game on a cartridge called Crossfire. One of those games has gone down with some historical significance. Go ahead and Google it to check and see which one.
So, yeah, King's Quest, the reboot thing, starts off a little slow, and it's mostly like quick time events, and you getting shepherded from one thing to another, and I was like, oh, well, this is clearly going to be awful. And then it opens up, and when it finally drops you in Daventry and just lets you roam around like a proper adventure game, I think it really got good. I think it really hit its stride and was kind of what they were going for. But it feels like they made a proof of concept section for trailers and stuff, because you being chased by a big dragon and dodging falling debris and all these kind of cinematic elements, and then the rest of the episode is you walking around and picking up items and then rubbing items together to see if they do the thing you want. Yeah,
that's the King's Quest I'm familiar with.
So it's almost like a part thing in one episode that is already only one part of a series. So it's very sectioned up. But I actually ended up kind of digging it. It was pretty funny. They got a pretty great voice cast. There were some neat puzzles. The visuals are really good. It's kind of like a exaggerated cartoony style. It's probably not going to make my Game of the Year list because it was such a fantastic year for video games, and I'm probably going to publish my Game of the Year list like the last week of December because there are still games coming out. Most notably the new Trails game, which is a pretty sweet JRPG series. But keep on the lookout for that because, wow, guys, there was a million good video games. Just a lot. The best. Probably the best year in like a decade.
It was kind of overwhelming, yeah.
But that's, I mean, I've talked to so much stuff. Did you guys have stuff you did before we go into questions? Leon left. Oh no, he's choking on onion rings.
I'm sorry, I am here. I am here, I'm sorry. I actually bought video games. So
the Steam sale. We might as well.
Yeah, that happened. I mean, I haven't played them yet, so I can't speak to any of them.
Uh-huh.
But I bought Hotline Miami 1 and 2 because they were both on sale as a bundle. So I was like, yeah. And then I bought
good purchases. I approve.
I bought The Binding of Isaac. I also bought Undertale, and I bought Her Story because I heard it was. I heard it was good, and I also heard that it was cheap, and both were, and so.
Nothing but hits.
Yeah, I bought 5 games for about $26 total. So I mean, I can't really turn that away. I mean, that'll last me for like months.
Did we ever talk about Her Story on here?
You did. You told me it was good. And
yeah, you and I spoke about it, Austin.
Okay. I won't waste people's time with that. That's just a really interesting experiment, and I know a lot of people who just despise it, and a lot of people who think it's like top 5 games of the year. So I'll be interested to see where you land. It's very divisive.
Okay.
I don't even know what I picked up on the Steam sale. I just do this thing where I sort by price, and anything that's under $5, that's on my wish. Any under $5 my wish list gets picked up. So I raked in like 10, although not real money. I just had like credit on my account. I haven't spent real money on video games since like 2008. It's been a while.
Oh.
So I got a bunch of games. I don't even know what they are. Johnny? How's your Steams?
I'm actually, I can't recall if I bought anything yet, to tell you the truth.
How do you feel about the new format without daily? Because it used to be like Steam used to be like a meta game where you have to like hunt for the best deals. Now it's just like, here are the deals, deal with it.
I think it works, honestly. I think it works. That, like, no more just, like, looking at a title and thinking to yourself, well, maybe I'll wait a couple of days and see if it gets a little cheaper. Maybe, I don't know.
It's less work, but you did get better deals the other way.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no telling for sure if we did get,
Gotta crunch those numbers.
Okay, I did. Sorry, I did buy a game. I bought Else Heart Break. I don't know if you guys know Else Heart Break.
I think you just made that up. That sounds fake.
No. It's a game called elseheart.break. Soft bracket. And it's a game where basically you can like hack reality. So you can I don't know exactly how it happens, whether or not you're living in a computer and you can just kind of you learn to mess with the code, or if it's real life and you just get a magical laptop that can hack into things. But you can basically pick anything in the world and change the way that it behaves. So, but it's this, it's an adventure game about somebody who moves to a new city and doesn't have any friends, and
sounds like an anime simulator.
No. It's you're a salesman or something like that for a soda company.
Wait,
and
is anime simulator a thing that exists yet? That has to exist.
Probably.
Anime simulator.
And then so you meet new people and you manage how you want to be friends with them, but then there are obviously puzzles and things like that. The guy who made Blueberry Garden way back when made it. It's a really interesting looking game, and one of the guys who writes for PC Gamer, Andy Kelly, who has a fantastic YouTube page called Other Places, where he essentially just cinematically archives amazing locations in video games. Like if you're interested in seeing the beauty in video games, do not waste a moment. Go to YouTube, look for Other Places. I think he won a BAFTA even actually for this fucking YouTube channel. But yeah, so I heard he said that it was one of the best games that he had played of the year, and so I was like, okay, I'll give that a shot. But I have not. As I get older and my Steam library becomes increasingly obese, the sales become slightly less important to me.
So I googled anime simulator, and yes, most of the things that came up are lightly pornographic, but also one of them is a really strange picture of Waluigi. Can you guys Google anime simulator for me so we can all be on the same page with this picture of Waluigi? It's
all right,
this is my life for now.
This is great because it's an audience. It's audience participation. Everybody together. Let's look up anime simulator, and we're clicking on image. Okay, is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with the feelings the picture is giving me.
I don't even.
We've all become white girls. We can't even. Wow, that is a picture of Waluigi, if ever there was one.
Kind of. All right. Do we have anything more to say, or should we go to questions?
I think we were, just for time's sake, we should probably go to questions, whether or not we have anything more to say.
Austin, you give me your questions first.
How are my volume sounding? All of a sudden, you got kind of quietly. I'm not sure if it's on my end or yours.
I'm talking now. How do I sound?
You sound okay. Do I sound okay?
You sound fine.
All right. I guess we're going to do a question then.
Go for it.
Oh, God. Guys, everyone's busting my balls. These questions. Here's a softball. Phoenix asks, what are some of your favorite movie characters? Could be from any film, really. Furiosa, next question.
Indiana Jones is my favorite movie character. It's, childish, and I acknowledge that. But, yeah, pretty much Indiana Jones. Love him. John.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, we had stuff right off the top of our heads. We didn't even have to think about it. So. Okay.
Yeah. No. I do have a character off the top of my head. Sorry. It's Roy from The Fall.
Oh my God, The Fall. That is. Have we talked about that?
I still
a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a fucking fantastic movie.
I like the reason why I say Roy from The Fall is because he's such an interesting blend of vulnerable.
Spoilers.
No, he's an interesting blend of vulnerable and manipulative and jilted but hopeful, and
also he's played by Lee Pace,
who is my boyfriend.
Yeah, samesies.
All right.
So now you know more things about me and Johnny. El Consolero asks, why was Johnny bleeding from his foot at 1 a.m. in the morning, which is something you tweeted about.
Yes, yeah, it is something I tweeted about, because I was supposed to be going to bed, actually. So, on the weekend, I was requested by my partner's mother to retrieve a recipe from a collection of books that she had given to us. Because she moved into a new place, didn't have that much space, or, so she's like, yeah, can you find this one thing? It's featured on the cover, it's, a cabbage dish, etc., etc. I was like, okay, I'll go looking for it. And that drove me to the cupboard where the bastard possessions that we have in our apartment live.
I'm sorry, what? The what?
The bastard possessions. The possessions where you come in to live in a new place, and you're like, wow, like, everything's fantastic, all the floors are clean, the bathroom's clean, and you open up this one cupboard, and you're like, why the fuck do I have a fondue set and 2 mismatched candle holders and 1 half-burned candle that's not even in one of the candle holders?
I now completely understand what you mean. I just didn't know there was a term for it, so...
Well, I just invented it. So.
Oh, okay. You were okay.
You said it was such authority. He assumed that it was like an actual term.
Right. So you said, I was like, whoa, what is this thing that has obviously existed for a long time that I don't know about? But anyway.
So anyways, one of the bastard possessions that we inherited when we moved into this place last year was again, a couple of candle holders. One of them glass. And during the process of looking for this recipe booklet on the weekend, I managed to inadvertently excise one of the glass candle holders from the cupboard, which wouldn't be a big deal if it were a few centimeters off the ground. Instead, rather, it was above the fridge, which is a regular fridge-sized fridge. And so, broken glass all over the floor. And I didn't just decide to leave it, just so that we're clear, be like, wow, Johnny, you were wandering around on a floor covered in broken glass for a couple of days. Good for you.
You didn't home alone yourself?
No, I did not home alone myself. I cleaned it up as best I could. And so when I was preparing to go to bed last night, I wandered into the kitchen to put some dirty dishes into the dishwasher, and I stepped on something sharp. This is where the story gets funny. And you know that reaction you get when you're in your bare feet and you step on something sharp, so you don't put your full weight down on it, right?
Yeah.
Your foot kind of comes back up and you're like, ooh, what's that? So I raised my foot and I looked at the sole of my foot, and I'm just reenacting this right now because that's just the kind of guy I am.
Thank you for that.
And there was, I kid you not, a toasted sesame seed kind of like jammed into the soft arch of my foot. And I was like, that's weird. That feels oddly sharp for a sesame seed. So I grab the sesame seed between my fingernails, flick it into the garbage disposal of the sink, and proceed to put the full weight of a grown man down on this foot, thinking, that sharp sesame seed is gone. What could possibly go wrong? Turns out that sharp sensation was a shard of glass that made its presence very well known. So yeah, I jammed a sliver of glass farther into my foot than is advisable, and just kind of like fell over, on the floor, and was just sort of like, God, what happened? I got the sharp oh, fuck. So I pulled it out of my foot, of course, and then, it's, there's a bunch of blood on my kitchen mat right now that I need to clean, so. And then, there was blood across the floor as well, but I cleaned that up. So, I'm pretty sure the neighbors heard me. Okay. Because Stephanie was in bed. She heard me. And loving partner that she is, she went right back to sleep again. Okay. So, there's really, there's nothing much else to say. I was on the floor of my kitchen at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, with a glass shard sticking out of my foot, just bleeding. So.
How are you such a incompetent person, Johnny? How do you get into these things you do? How?
Well, I had cleaned the mess up. Okay, so the first thing that I
how are you alive? I guess is my question. Let me narrow it down. How did you make it this far?
Dumb luck.
Fair. You answered it in one.
That's gotta be. That's gotta be it. That's gotta be the only reason why I'm still walking, breathing, talking, and have, at least I think, all feeling in all my fingers. But, I mean, it can't be skill.
So do you want another question, guys?
Sure.
Leon.
sorry, before we completely move on for this topic, I just want to ask you guys this question. Okay, so it's like, let's say it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you've just spilled a whole bunch of blood all over the floor. Okay. And it's like, you know you have to get to bed.
Yeah.
And your partner is waiting for you in bed and is probably wondering where the hell you are at this point in time. Because normally you go to bed at like 11 or 12 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you leave it and be like, yeah, there's a bunch of blood on the floor. I'm sorry, I really got to get some sleep. Do you clean it up and go to bed like later and be like, yeah, I'm really sorry, I had to clean a bunch of blood up? Or, you know, is there an option here that I'm not seeing?
No. You got it. I feel like you should clean it up because you don't want anyone slipping on your blood.
Yeah.
Although
that would be a hilarious pratfall, like some really dark sitcom shit.
But there are no good answers to what do I do with all my blood.
What do I do with all my blood?
Right.
I think we have a title, gentlemen.
Yep, that'll do it.
All right.
So you clean it up, you'd be the decent.
I try. I mean, I'm bad at cleaning, but I try really hard to anyway.
That's what I did. I cleaned it up.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just so that we're clear that I'm not
How long does it take you? It takes like 5 minutes to clean up. You just get some bleach and some
I had to get to the first aid kit first, Austin. It wasn't like I couldn't get a bunch of paper towel and then just, like, smear blood all over the floor and be like, oh, no, it just keeps coming. You know, so I had to disinfect it, and then I had to, like, you know, bandage it up, and then, you know, put the first aid kit away, and then clean it up, so...
Yeah. That makes
sense.
You know. Like it took me like almost an hour to do the whole process from, you know, that ill-advised, ooh, it was just a sharp sesame seed thought to...
You're such a goober. The whole situation, the visual image of the sesame seed is what really brings it home for me, personally.
That was what makes it actually a worthwhile story, was the assumption that I had that I was like, wow, that was a pretty sharp sesame seed. As if, like, I was going to step on a piece of lettuce or something and be like, ooh, I don't know, that looks pretty dangerous.
All right.
How's your foot now?
It's actually quite sore still, because I was on it at work all day, but it looks well enough. At a glance, you wouldn't guess that I had impaled myself.
Okay. Well, that's good, I guess.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
Next question.
Yeah, but this is recording right before Christmas. By the time you hear it, Christmas will have passed. So do we want to do festive questions?
I'll do a festive question.
Are there festive questions?
There's one here. It's another El Consolero who asks, what are your best memories surrounding Christmas? That's Christmassy, by definition.
It's literally Christmassy. Well, why don't you start? Because I can't... well, you know, I mean, as a child, I would go to a place where they had, like, model trains, and I enjoyed that for Christmas. There was a place right down the street that would, like, not only decorate their house with Christmas stuff, but decorate it so much that they never took it completely down over the course of the year, because it was just a pain in the ass to do. So that was fun. Most of my best Christmas memories are from childhood. Like I said in a previous episode, I recently started like celebrating Christmas again, because why not? I enjoy sending people things. But beyond that, I haven't had too many big, good Christmas memories lately, because there's always been some disaster that happens on Christmas, around the Thomas household. And, this year, it's just me. You're
the disaster?
No, I mean, I'm going to be alone in my apartment.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Yeah. The way that was worded, I probably should have put a comma in there. There's always some disaster around the Thomas household, and this year it's just me.
You should totally Grinch yourself.
Oh my god. So, yeah, I mean, ask me in a couple of years about my favorite Christmas memories. I'm working on them.
Oh god, if we're still doing this show in a couple of years.
Yeah, we are, guys. I mean,
the SEC is going to get a strongly worded letter.
Okay. So
that's the people who control transmissions, right? Yeah.
Who cares?
Okay. Good joke. I did it.
Yeah. Johnny or Austin or anyone who has a thought?
One of my favorite Christmas traditions is making mulled wine with Stephanie.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys have ever had mulled wine before. Probably not often because I don't think. No, I'm just assuming here, okay, that hot wine isn't a very popular drink in Florida when it's fucking 24 degrees out in the wintertime.
Is that what mold means? I thought it meant you thought about it a lot.
No, it's a spiced warmed wine. So, you know, like you do things like you peel a couple of oranges and a lime and like a lemon, and you put a cup of sugar in a pot, and then you add 2 cinnamon sticks, like a bay leaf or 2, some cloves.
Welcome to the Word Funk Recipe Podcast. Make sure you're writing all this down.
No, I mean, it's, you can get good mulled wine recipes on the internet. I'm just trying to give you guys a picture of the flavor here. All right? And then you pour a little bit of wine in and then let it sort of make a syrup with the sugar so that you're not burning off the alcohol of all the wine while you're trying to get the sugar into a dissolvable state. And then once you get that syrup, you pour a fuck ton of wine into this pot and warm it up, and then it's just, it's funny because it's not one of those things that I did when I was a kid that I've continued to do as an adult. It's something that her and I have started to do together, and I like that.
All right,
that makes me happy.
That's great.
And plus, also, it's so fucking delicious.
Okay.
Because you are adding like a cup of sugar.
Yeah,
to like
I think that helps anything,
bucks.
Doesn't it?
God damn it does, son.
It's like the easy win button.
Yeah, so mulled wine. There's some really, really great recipes. I'm really fond of Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver's got a recipe for mulled wine that just kicks ass. So if you're thinking to yourself, hey, that sounds like a really great idea for a cold, Christmassy drink, Google Jamie Oliver mulled wine, run with it. That shit will warm your insides.
Okay.
We should get paid for these shout-outs.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just talking about what I like. I'm no paid shill, Austin. Ethics.
As long as you disclose that you're a shill, I think that makes it okay. Is that how ethics work? I don't know. Next question?
Yeah, totally. Please.
Let's see here. Brent asks, explain in detail why Joseph is best JoJo. And I'm sorry, Brent, Jolene is best JoJo. Next question. You tried, but you were wrong.
I don't know what any of this means, but so okay.
It's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure thing. Joseph is a very good JoJo, but not the best.
I don't know what that. All right, it doesn't matter.
He's from the most homoerotic arc of JoJo, and that is highly appreciated.
Okay.
Really Stupid Check, which is a really self-deprecating name that makes me sad, asks, could your Dice Funk characters do a crossover with Word Funk or vice versa? Does that mean like a Stephen King Dark Tower thing where like Anne and Ronaldo run into Leon and Austin?
Right. Wait, did he say can you say the phrasing of that question again, just so I know what I'm talking about?
Could your Dice Funk characters do a crossover with Word Funk, vice versa?
No, well, no. It could only go one way.
We could do this show in character.
No,
we're like, what did you watch this week, Ronaldo? And you'd be like, I watched my mustache. Like, you could do it.
How would that work for me? I feel like that would kind of be like the Tesseract scene in Interstellar, where I would just be like, my God, it's Johnny upon Johnny upon Johnny upon Johnny. I can see time.
Yeah, it would only work. It wouldn't work at all. but it can only work.
So no.
It would work on Dice Funk in the sense that like other characters could appear. There are no characters on this show. That's what I'm trying to say. There aren't.
Yeah, the sad truth of it is that we're actually all just ourselves.
Yeah, we're just like this.
Well, I don't know if that's exactly true because, as we've established, Leon, you're entirely what was the word you used? Rambunctious.
Yeah,
Leon's turned up.
I try to be more on during word funk. Just I try to like enunciate in like a louder voice because I don't normally talk like this. I normally talk like this.
Wait, how can you say there's no characters on Wordfunk? What about Gorfanax? What about Bozog?
Yeah. I mean,
fan favorite Bozog?
They're not. They don't do anything. We just talk about. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
How can you
Leon?
say that, Leon? I'm a fan favorite. I'm Bozog.
This is all bad.
Oh, the show.
Okay, so
someone asked a question about Madoka Magica, but you guys haven't seen it. I would love to have that conversation with you. That's another thing. That's like 6 episodes. You guys should watch that.
Right.
Is that on
it was
Hulu as well?
It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is. I think it's on Hulu as well.
Austin, do research for me.
I should. I introduced it to one friend, and she liked it so much she got a Madoka Magica tattoo, like, on her body permanently. Like, that's how good it is. You just have to get past the first couple episodes where it's a different show entirely. It's not a bad show. It just it tricks you into thinking it's one thing, so you have to like stick with it for a little bit.
So it's you said it was 6 episodes, and the first couple
12.
episodes are crap?
It's
okay,
12
all right.
episodes, and it's on Netflix.
Because I was going to be a little weirded out if you were like, it's 6 episodes, but 33% of it is actually kind of shitty.
No, it's not shitty. It's just different. The first 2 episodes are Sailor Moon, and you're like, oh, this is a good Sailor Moon show, and then it's not anymore.
I can deal with 17% shitty. I can deal with that.
There's 17% Sailor Moon. What do you have against Sailor Moon?
Nothing.
Good.
You got a problem with me?
If you don't have a problem with Sailor Moon, we're fine.
Huh?
Another question?
Sure.
This one, okay. Ingmar Gremmen asks, what would it take for Austin to run a video game site again? And in parentheses, you did ask for questions. It seems like kind of like apologizing for the question. First of all, if you listen to the show, you know we will answer like literally any humiliating garbage you can come up with. That's a perfectly like reasonable question.
I have been more vulnerable on this podcast than I have with many of my ex-girlfriends.
We get real on here, so that's a perfectly fine question. Although for the question itself, it appears that best human in the universe, Becky, already jumped in and did it in one word. She replied to the tweet and said, money. Like, that's the answer. I don't know if you guys...
that's pretty much it.
Have you guys been following, like, the internet economy this year? Like, Grantland went down, IO9 and Gizmodo merged. Like, shit's tough out there for, like, people who have offices in LA and New York, right?
And even people who are making tons of money right now are doing their best to try and find alternative revenue streams. I mean, Twitch cut a whole shit ton of content. YouTube is looking into subscription-based content. People need money, yo.
Like we've talked about like things that went wrong with BT before, but like the deck was always stacked against that. Like it's just brutal out there right now. So like as much as I would like to say that I could get some people together who were like really into good journalism and we could just do our best and muddle through, like it's just not possible without major corporate backing.
People have asked me to go back to writing about video games, and the thing is that I would love to do that. I would love to write articles again, and renew my reputation as being the no-nonsense maverick who maybe doesn't make any sense. But I can't. This is the thing. I don't have the time. Because I have to work a job. I'm a homeowner now. I need to be paid. And I don't have the time to work on my own time. I'm just assuming a lot here that Austin would want me back, but, you know, let's pretend, Austin.
Let's assume I can't get rid of you.
Yeah. You know, like, I don't have the time. And that's the thing. Unless I was getting paid for it, I couldn't do it. And I know that that's the same for him. Probably even more so, actually, because I have a little bit of security at this point in time.
Yeah. I'm doing video game writing, but much less than I would like to do, and I'm eternally thankful for the people who support me on Patreon. I'm doing my best, but to bring a whole site back would require just a level of financial sorcery that is beyond me at this point.
And even if you're doing things like skipping paying your writers, which a lot of websites do, and then they tell you, "Oh, don't worry, you're going to get video games for free." Oh yeah, you're going to love it. By the way, write a really in-depth review about this super shitty RPG that's going to take you 50 hours to play through this week that you're not going to like, but it's going to stay in your games library forever because that's your compensation.
We're getting real salty up in here.
I'm just trying to tell some truth here. Even if you're skipping that, even if you're skipping paying the people who work for you, you're still talking about a huge investment of time. You're talking about server fees. You're talking about finding people who are good that are willing to work for free. And if that's not writers who know how to spell properly and construct sentences so that they make sense to more people than a second grader, then you need editors. Mm-hmm. It's the manpower costs, the hours that people would have to put into managing an entire site is staggering.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked before about between ad block, between dropping advertising revenue, between just the way that the internet has centralized on a couple of big content stealing sites like BuzzFeed. It's just brutal out there. It's Mad Max trying to make money on the internet. So, sorry, that's a downer. But we still do stuff if you like our stuff. Just not as much stuff.
I do very little stuff, but I'm glad you like it.
Well, you're on 2-hour-long shows every week, so people do get a Johnny injection.
It's true.
It's too bad we didn't wear that the Johnny injection can't be the title because that blood one was really good. All right. I did get a few questions. I mean, one of them was a question we just answered, and another one is about Star Wars that we can't talk about.
Next week, I promise.
No, you're fine.
I've got my tickets. I'm going Sunday night. Next week, we're all going to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
The episode is going to start, and we're all going to be like, "So, what's your favorite episode of the prequels, guys?"
All right. Creature asked, any opinions on a potential cinematics Farscape sequel? Having only seen a few episodes of the first season, I don't have opinions, but it's one of those shows I'm eventually going to go and try to watch all the way through. So
is Farscape like a Red Dwarf? Which one's the one?
Farscape is the one with puppets, with Jim Henson puppets.
Yeah, it's the Jim Henson Company.
Yeah. I have not seen it.
It's
all right. Then I guess I'm the only guy here who's seen Farscape.
Yeah. So your thoughts on a potential cinematic sequel?
I didn't even know they were talking about it, honestly. I'd be down for more Farscape.
Yeah.
Obviously. I just don't know how you do it. Because there comes a sort of a certain point in time where so much time has passed between the vitality of a project, that your actors get older, the way that people perceive the work changes, and what we wind up with is something that is culturally observed differently than when it was at its most forceful. So, you run the risk of either deciding that you're going to try and jump back into the series right where you left off and be like, a week later, but then all your actors look like they're 15 years older than they used to be, and nobody's going to buy that. Or, you don't get all the regular actors again, and you just sort of like drag everybody into a new situation where you're like, oh look, the crew's up to their old hijinks again, but look at these new guys! So, that having been said though, good writing can overcome anything.
Isn't that the premise of the new Star Wars?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we that could kind of get away with it, because never mind, that would get into spoilers. But that can get...
Damn it, Johnny.
Yeah, no, that can get away with it, because it's Star Wars. Whereas, You know what? I can't. You know what? I probably shouldn't say shit about it because I haven't seen Farscape, so I don't know how the fans perceive it now.
It's a good show, you know. I watched it because it was on Netflix, and then immediately after I finished watching it, I decided to get the Blu-rays. So it's a great show. I love it. The first season is a little weak. It takes a while for it to find its legs, but I think that's true probably of a lot of sci-fi. If they decided to go and do a Farscape movie, yeah, I'd watch it. I mean, I'm not stupid, but that doesn't mean that it would, you know, I don't think, when you're talking about a television show that ran for 4 seasons, there's not much that you can do in one movie to wrap everything up without it being a whirlwind of, what the fuck just happened?
You could just start killing characters. That'll help.
Yeah, but then everybody will start complaining, because it's not what the fans want.
It worked out for Serenity. Boom. I did it, guys.
Oh.
Yeah, but Serenity happened not that long after the series ended. It was a few years.
Yeah.
Fine.
All right. Anything we want to say before we go? We've run pretty long.
The longest.
Have a happy holiday, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope you're having a relaxing, getting a little bit of time off, spending time with people who are dear to you, friends, family, or people that you just love to torment. Here's to you. Cheers.
Thanks. I'm seeing Macbeth on Christmas Eve, but besides that, I got no plans.
Yeah, we joked on the Thanksgiving episode about, like, not being thankful for much, or I did at least, but, like, we are super thankful for, like, everyone who listens to our garbage and stuff. It's cool of you. No, I don't know. I feel like I should acknowledge that. Like, we get, like, crazy cool fan art for Dice Funk, and today, like, obviously, like, Becky is the bomb, but, well, I feel like I don't give Wheezing Shark enough props.
Hi, Becky!
Just the fantasticest, like, I like, my favorite, like, all of it's good, but the thing that really gets me is when people do drawings of, like, one-off jokes of things that, like, didn't actually occur. Like, you were in the basement in one episode, and you're like, oh, can I look upstairs? And I was like, how? You're not a giraffe. You can't see the first floor from the basement. And we got, like, 3 drawings of Ronaldo as a giraffe.
All right. Well, happy holidays to you guys as well, and I'll see you guys tomorrow one night.
Yeah, that's right.
We're good at planning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At 4:30.
I'm excited about this week's episode of Dice Funk. I'm dancing in my chair, and Stephanie's kind of averting her eyes because she looks a little embarrassed now. So
she should be.
I stopped dancing. I'm excited about tomorrow's episode. Dancing again.
Me too. All right. We should probably go. Any last words?
Get some mulled wine in you, bitches.